Well, there's just nothing like being at a hockey rink on a Saturday night. The North Financial Center's that rink tonight, and the Firebirds are on home ice to take on the Erie Otters. Off a comeback win last night in the Sioux, the Birds are rolling back in, looking to end their week of work on a high note. Let's talk about it. It's the Firebirds and the Otters. When Firebirds hockey is on the air, and it starts right now. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the broadcast booth for tonight's pregame show, driven by Shea Automotive. Here to tell you the story, I'm Brian Gardner. We got the Firebirds and the Erie Otters here this evening. Birds welcoming the Otters for the second time this season. First trip was about a month ago. Now, Flint, we mentioned, rolling in here off of a come-from-behind victory last night on the road in the Sioux at GFL Memorial Gardens, 3-2 over the Sioux Greyhounds. Firebirds then had to travel through the night, make it back here to the North Financial Center. Bus pulled in just shy of 3 a.m. this morning, so a pretty tough turnaround for the Firebirds. On the other side of things, the Otters actually had no travel. They had a win yesterday on the road in Saginaw over the Spirit. They stayed in Saginaw, then made their way here to Flint in advance of the game. As we know, just about a 40-minute drive. So for the second consecutive time that the Otters are in town, it's Erie who actually has the travel advantage, waiting for the Firebirds to return. Same thing happened last month. It's the quirks of scheduling throughout a hockey season. Everybody deals with it. Today it's the Firebirds, and we'll see how they react to that as they try and make it back-to-back to close out their week of work here today against the Erie Otters. So before we talk about today's matchup, though, let's look back at that action from yesterday. We'll begin on the road in the Sioux. It's the Firebirds and the Greyhounds. We'll start in the second period. The Sioux on the board first. Marco Mignosa off the feed from Spencer Evans. He snaps that past Noah Bender, and the Greyhounds off and running with a 1-0 lead. Later, power play chance for the Sioux. This time it's Andrew Gibson. Finds Brady Smith. Smith all alone, left circle. Slings it right past Bender. 2-0 Greyhounds. First 8 seconds of the third period. How about Caden Petrie? Took the puck away from Gibson. Just stuffed it home. That'll get the boys off and going. 8 seconds in, Firebirds now within one. And then later on in this third period, they work at Blake Smith, carry the puck in, and Smith snaps one home. We got a tie hockey game. Chris Thibodeau on the feed there. Now the Firebirds trying to add to that 2 minutes later. Mania got it free. Left side, it's Smith again. And the Firebirds now lead 3-2. 3 unanswered for the Birds. Final seconds. The horn will tick down and below. They'll get a little bit of physical altercation in, but the Firebirds hug your goaltender because you just won by a final score of 3-2. Now last evening in Saginaw, it's the Spirit hosting the Otters. Kerry Terrance in tight. You'll hear from him again. Puts a little move on and scores 1-0 Otters. Then Sam Alfano, he scores. Stuffs it down low. 2-0 Otters lead. Here's Kerry Terrance again this time. Long range deflection. Off the shot there from Ty Henry. Terrance gets his stick on it. Deflects it up and over the shoulder of Oak. 3-0 Otters. Here come the Spirit, though. It's Saginaw going to get on the board as they feed one in front. Nick Sema going to score. Makes the score 3-1. Then Zane Perek off the one faceoff by Michael Misa. Wait, fire, score. 3-2 hockey game. But it's Terrance again on the move. Tucks it home. That's a hat trick now for Kerry Terrance. Buries it on the breakaway. The Otters lead by 2. Saginaw on the power play now, though. Ethan Hay receives it, buries it on the one-timer. Saginaw's back within 1. But Erie going to keep on answering. This time Wesley Royston. Off the long feed there from Gabe Frasca. Royston to finish in tight on Oak. Andrew Oak probably wants some of these back. His team then trails 5-3. Still in the third, Spirit knocking at the door. Dima Jokin off the gorgeous feed from Liam Storch. Jokin in tight, goes low on the blocker's side. Make it 5-4. Then Saginaw going to tie it. We saw a lot of this on Wednesday when the Spirit were in this building. This time Joey Willis. He had 5 goals against the Birds. He gets 1 against the Otters, and it's a tie hockey game, 5-5. Late third, though. The Otters not going away. Dylan Edwards, he's got the goal-scoring touch. Do it himself. Edwards through traffic. Beats Oak low. Otters take the lead at 6-5. Then in the waning seconds, why not? For a little bit of emphasis at the end, the 4th goal of the game for Kerry Terrance. on the empty netter, and that made it 7-5. Now taking a look at these two teams and the way that they line up, now the biggest difference here is goal scoring for Erie. They've definitely got the edge over Flint there, and then the power play numbers. Flint's power play really about half the number of Erie's. The Otters, one of the better power plays in the league. Their penalty kill has been solid as well. Special teams has been a difference maker for the Otters. The Firebirds have struggled on the special teams in both units, hoping to improve that as they move forward here. We're already through 20 games of this season, more than a quarter of the way through. The Firebirds host the Otters today, hoping to improve on those numbers. The standings finds Flint sitting in 8th place in the Western Conference at 8-11-0-1. 17 points, just one behind Sarnia, who's 1 point ahead of them. Birds have a game in hand on the Sting, who are in 7th. Erie, 4th in the league at 11-5-2-1 over in the Western Conference. Otters just 6 points back of the first place Kitchener Rangers. This is an Erie team that's playing pretty good hockey. So the Firebirds and the Erie Otters, two of these American teams meeting up for the second of 4 meetings between these two teams this season. This is already Erie's final scheduled game here in this building. The Otters have made 2 early trips to Flint. The Birds have yet, though, to make their way out to Erie. They'll do so later on this month, just after Thanksgiving. So it's going to be interesting to see how it lines up here today between Flint and Erie for, again, the second time this season. Firebirds hoping they can start to string some wins together and climb their way up the standings in the Western Conference. Stick around as we roll along here on the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive. When we come back, we'll get a look at a lineups for both teams, our players to watch, that and more when we continue on the pregame show here. Firebirds and the Erie Otters live on this Saturday evening on FHN.
All right, Chevy team, huddle up, huddle up. We really got to bring it this month. Banks, what do you got?
Lease a new Chevy Silverado for as low as $298 a month.
Go Chevy!
Theo, what do you got?
Lease the all-new 2020-25 Chevy Equinox for as low as $299 a month.
Go Chevy!
Connie, what do you got?
Lease a Chevy Blazer for as low as $289 a month.
Go Chevy!
Let's get the best deal for our past, present, and future customers. What do we say? What do we chant?
Go Chevy!
Flint and Erie here on this Saturday evening. Firebirds and the Otters meeting up for second time this season. Birds hoping they can make it back-to-back wins here on this weekend after the come-from-behind win last evening over the Sioux Greyhounds. Get a look at our lineups for today's game. We begin with the Otters. Now, this Erie team really starting to kind of hit its groove. Of course, Carrie Terrance as the second-line center, somebody who has been putting the puck in the net there deep all the way down, as really 3 lines with a ton of scoring. Starting to see the difference on the defensive side of things as well, and the return of Matthew Schaefer, as this is an Erie team with some veterans and some young talent. As the Firebirds dealing with Erie here this evening, we'll get a look at our players to watch for today's contest, and we'll begin with the aforementioned Matthew Schaefer. Now Schaefer, last 3 games, 6 points. He had 3 assists last night against the Saginaw Spirit. He missed the start of the season, but back in a big way, more than a point per game on the season. Those 14 points, that comes in 10 games played. He's going to be in the CHL USA Prospects Challenge game next week, and the week after next, and has been named an alternate captain for it. Looked at as a first-round pick, potential top 5 pick in the 2025 NHL draft this upcoming summer. Matthew Schaefer, last season's number 1 overall pick in the OHL draft. Now, speaking of NHL draft prospects, how about Malcolm Spence? He was the number 2 overall pick 2 drafts ago, and because of his late September birthday, just missing the cutoff date for the NHL draft. Now, Spence on the season up to 23 points. He's one of the leading scorers for the Otters. He's also going to be on Team CHL in that in that CHL USA Prospects Challenge game next week. Finally draft eligible, and he's been really good. 2 goals and an assist in the first meeting of the season against the Firebirds on October the 19th. And finally, we mentioned his name already today, Carrie Terrance. Terrance is their captain, the Anaheim Ducks prospect. 8 points last 4 games. Now, he had 4 goals last night against the Saginaw Spirit. 4 of his 10 goals on the season. 6 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 games. He did not score against the Firebirds in their last meeting, but the Ducks prospect is for sure scoring now. And yet 6 of his 10 have come in the last 4 games. He's gotten hot. Firebirds will try and slow him down, centering that second line. to the Firebirds, who are still without a couple of key contributors. Once again, missing Nate Aspinall with a lower body injury and Nolan Collins with an upper body injury. But the Birds rolling with basically the same look that they had yesterday, save for the switch in goaltenders as Nathan Day is in. Noah Bender will back him up. Firebirds are trying to stick with what worked, especially in the third period yesterday. Jumbled things up a little bit in terms of the line combinations. Be interesting, that third line, especially with Hayden Reed centering Cole Zarowski and Alex Costa. But our players to watch, let's start with Blake Smith, and that's goal scorer Blake Smith to you. He had 2 last night. Goals in 4 of his last 5 games, 5 goals in that stretch. Now, yesterday was his first career 2-goal game. The difference is Smith is looking to shoot. He's looking to activate more than he had in the past, picking his spots effectively and showing that he's more than a stay-at-home D-man. Now, Smith, 6 goals and 6 assists. So that's in 18 games played. Entering this season, Blake Smith, for his OHL career, 180 games played, 3 goals. Big time difference for the overage defenseman. Over to another guy who's been putting the puck in the net lately, Caden Petrie. 4-game point streak, 3 goals and 3 assists for the Tampa prospect. Petrie had really got the Birds going last night with that goal in the third period. It sparked a rally in the third. 8 seconds it took for him to put the puck in the net. He now is really good to see him getting hot at the times the Birds really seem to need it. 8 goals and 5 assists on the season for Petrie. And finally, to Jimmy Lombardi. Now, Lombardi has really elevated his game as of late. 5 points in his last 5 games. You ask anybody who watched the game, especially on Wednesday against Saginaw, he's really starting to take over shifts. It's showing up on the score sheet. Second on the team with 15 points on the season, 5 goals and 10 assists. He is not in that CHL and USA Prospects Challenge next week, and he's playing like he wants the CHL to regret leaving him off of its roster. Well, that's our scene for the Firebirds and the Erie Otters here on this Saturday evening from the Dort Financial Center. Pro wrestling tonight. Lots of fun skits have already been starting. There was a wrestling ring set up in the lobby, as it's a fun evening to be at the Dort Financial Center. For those of you watching at home, though, we'll make you feel like you're here. Firebirds and the Erie Otters getting set for puck drop. When we come back, we'll have starting lineup introductions, national anthems, and then we'll drop that puck. This has been the pregame show, driven by Shea Automotive. Birds, Otters, after this on FHN.
Hello? Are you there? The Shea Megalot is hosting their annual pre-owned lease pull-ahead. Are you upside down on your trade? Over on your miles? We'll buy your car.
Don't just turn your lease in.
We'll buy your car.
Is your current payment too high?
We'll buy your car.
Trapped in your lease?
We'll buy your car.
Not in the market for a car?
We'll still buy your car.
Are your service bills adding up?
We'll buy your car.
Bad credit?
We'll buy your car. Plus, the Shea Megalot has over 500 pre-owned and certified vehicles to choose from. Just Shea'n.